Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Construction News webinar brought to you in construction with HSI Skillko. I'm Colin Mars, editor at Construction News, and today I'm joined by a panel of experts to discuss closing the workforce gaps in construction competence and compliance. It's a challenging issue, managing workforce competency and authorisation at scale, and that's across multiple construction sites, as well as a myriad of subcontractors and employment types. We've lined up a panel of industry experts to dig into these issues and more. They are Pauric Geraghty, a senior account executive at HSI Skillko. Pauric, tell us a little bit more about yourself and welcome.
Right, thanks very much, Colin. So I'm as you mentioned, a senior account executive here at HSI Skillko. I've been working with numerous construction and utility companies over the last 5 years to really delve into those challenges around ensuring compliance and competency across the workforce. I suppose today's environment is getting ever more challenging, and thankfully, with us at HSI Skillko, we've been able to help organisations streamline a lot of those processes through our digital platform to help ensure the competency at the point of service. So really happy and lucky to be joined by such an excellent panel, and looking forward to the discussions today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to diving into some of this stuff a bit deeper with you. Our second guest is Maria Coulter, who's a construction coach and keen on construction revolutions. Hello, Maria. Tell us a bit more about yourself.
Hello, yes, my name's Maria Coulter. I'm founder of Construction Coach and the recently launched Solving Construction. So I have got an industry background. I'm a chartered quantity surveyor by profession, and I worked as a project manager. I've been in the industry for a lot of years, but I just felt like we needed to get better at how we do business, and that's where the construction revolution came into play. I work a lot with SMEs and micro businesses to help them build stronger, more profitable, and hopefully happier businesses. And I'm doing a lot around tech and innovation at the moment to support smaller businesses to find the right tech for their business and really sort of embrace the digital journey, basically. So thanks for having me here.
Great. Thanks very much, Maria. Next up, we've got Martin O'Hara, who's Director of Health, Safety, Environment and Quality at Circuit. Welcome, Martin. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Good morning. Thank you, Colin. It's Circuit, not Circuit. It's French. It's a French-owned company. So it's now called Circuit. Sounds very sexy, but we're called Circuit. So my role is HSE QT director. We have got approximately 4,500 employees across UK and Ireland. I've got about 2,500 direct plus 4,500 suppliers that we work with. So my role, my background, being in telecoms construction 26 years now. I used to be a telecommunications rigger, so I used to climb towers, pylons, roofs, etc., and put in the 3G network. That's how old I am. Put in 2G and 3G. It's now moved on to 5G and 6G is coming down the pipeline. Our company, Circuit, is approximately, we work across all different work streams. Telecommunications, network, rail, wireless, traffic management, and service delivery, which we do broadband installations in the home, etc. as well. So it's quite a busy portfolio, and it's going to expand in the next wee while as well. So, thank you for the invite and coming on and speaking to people.
No, not at all. Thanks for making the time. It'll be very interesting chatting with you from your point of view. Final guest, Daniel O'Brien, who's with Siemens Energy. Daniel, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Morning, Colin. So I'm the Managing Director of Blackwater Health and Safety Solutions. We provide resources and consultancy to construction companies. And currently, I am representing Siemens Energy on the biggest energy infrastructure project in the history of the state of Ireland, really. So yeah, I've been in construction since I was a teenager. About 10 years ago, I went over to, some people would say, the dark side. My father used to describe me as a poacher turned gamekeeper. So my background in construction was predominantly around reinforced concrete works and civil works such as pipelines, roadworks, etc., etc. So happy to be on, delighted to be here.
Welcome. Thank you for making the time. So before we get going, let me remind the audience that you can participate by asking questions using the Q&A function on your Zoom screens. We'll leave a bit of time at the end to go through those. If I spot any relevant ones as we're going through, I'll try and pick those out as we're going if they crop up at appropriate times, but otherwise we'll stop at the end there. So to get started, I mean, with any revolution, you need a starting point. So maybe I'll come to Martin first. It might seem an obvious question, but why is competence and proving competence important to you? And how are the challenges of proving it changing?
Well, it's vital that we have competent people. We use a mixture of direct labour and suppliers, but build partners, and it's all very fluid. We work across multiple clients, etc. as well. Openreach's our biggest client in the UK, and we've got stringent requirements for competency from a safety perspective and also from a build perspective. The engineers out on site have got to have quality modules as well as the safety modules to undertake the work. So we've introduced Skillko 3.5 years ago now. We've been utilising that for managing our competence. What we've seen is a sea change in the way the safety is within the business. It's got far better. It's not by any means perfect, but you can link that back into one, ensuring everybody that's out working is inducted, they're trained, accredited to undertake the works. And secondly, we can keep on top of their accreditations, their training records, etc. as well, to ensure that they're maintaining their accreditations. And finally, in the event things go wrong, which do happen, unfortunately, we can go back and check the training records to make sure that individual has got his competency records for what he's doing from a safety and also from a quality perspective when they're doing the work. It's just not around safety, it's also around the quality of the workmanship. So we go out and we check the work to make sure it's been done properly. So does the client, Openreach, Fibrous, etc. All the clients go and do quality checks, and we can link that back to that guy's training records to ensure that that person's competent to undertake the work. And if they're not, then we can do an investigation around that to make sure where things went wrong, whether it's the person, the managers assigned them incorrectly, or the person's just turned up on site and done work that he's not trained and accredited to do. So it's key we've got competent people out there when they're out work, when we're working, putting them to work.
Just sticking with you for a second, what was happening before 3 years ago? Were you collecting this information in a different way, or were you just not collecting it at all?
Oh no, we were collecting it. We were using spreadsheets, etc. Now it's all interlinked with our workflow system, AFS. We use that for managing the jobs, etc. So it's far more stringent, far better controlled, and you can see that having that level of control has reduced the number of incidents we have in site. We do, the speed of the build, etc. There are quality issues, reinstatement issues, that kind of thing, but also around the fibre build from an Openreach perspective. But you can see it. There's a line that we have that the glide path is going in the right direction. So we have ramped up over the past 3 years, probably doubled in size with the field force. So it's key that we ensure that those individuals are trained and competent to undertake the work. It's using spreadsheets and folders on a hard drive just don't work, with the size of the workforce that we do have.
Yeah,
and that goes across other work streams as well. The traffic management, we use that for traffic management on the rail side as well, making sure that everybody, depending on the work the guys are undertaking, they've all got the right tickets for undertaking the work. Rail's quite a complicated work stream that we work in. So it's key that the guys have got all the right tickets for accessing site and working safely when they're out there as well.
And Daniel, would you echo that? What's your experience of how things are changing? Obviously, you're doing things at scale as well.
Yeah, so we've at peak here. This is just one project alone behind me. We've almost 300 guys on site and ladies. So we suppose when I first came on board with Siemens Energy, I was looking at the way they were controlling their first their onboarding of people to the site, looking at their inductions, they're looking at the control of competencies and qualifications. It was very paper-based. So having used Skillko before, I introduced Skillko to Siemens Energy. It's been a match made in heaven. So if we look at safety and we get the real bones of safety, all we want is we don't want people hurt. So a big part of that is prevention. So prevention is better than cure. And to control, I suppose, the gaps in compliance and make sure we've got the right people doing the right tasks on site. Skillko has been a big part of, first of all, we're assessing people before they go to work. Secondly, we have full control, full access to training matrices of everyone that's on site. I know before it was, like you said, Martin, going back to the old Excel spreadsheets, they were so labor intensive to stay on top of them. And oh, there's a guy in red here the last 3 weeks. Oh, let's get in contact with him, get his training updated, so on and so forth. But yeah, and again, where safety is married into other things, we've actually got we partnered Skillko, we tied them in with our security provider on site. So now any training that expires, access stops with it. So it ensures that we're at all times making sure with the right qualifications are coming to our projects. So yeah, that's it. We've gotten rid of the paper. We've shaved hours off our day, which gives us more time, I suppose, to dig in and do deeper dives on site and with boots on the ground. And like that, over the years, Skillko wasn't the first platform we used. So I've seen first embracing technology, and then the next thing is technology developing and you're moving with it. And I suppose the difficulty for the likes of myself, Martin and Maria, is trying to get technology to move with us. And yeah, we've had providers before, and it's been an issue. Whereas thankfully we've decent relationship there with Park that can deal with Skillko day to day. They will nip and tuck and react and adjust the platform to suit us and suit our daily needs. Like, so it's been a breath of fresh air this last few years. No more spreadsheets, no more paper-based photocopying of CSCSs and safe passes and so on and so forth. So
it's great when that just I'll jump in there, Colin, if that's okay. But I know from chatting to you, Daniel, like previously, having a digital like us it's a great help because it, as you kind of mentioned, it just gives time back to people like yourselves. So we help control that training and ensure they're competent coming onto site, but removing the admin around that, you were kind of saying, it really gives you time then to be out, and really validating that competency then on the job, whatever they're working on or whatever type of competency that they're trained in, you can really drill in and ensure that it's done correctly. And that's been a big benefit for you. I remember you saying before as well.
Yeah, and like Martin, you said, incidents do happen. They do happen. Unfortunately, they still happen on sites. And first thing we go to is who's involved and were they qualified and trained to do so. And again, back to the old folders, what was his induction number? Let's poke it out. Let's look for his name on the file or her name on the file. Let's look at their training. Whereas it's there live on Skillko, right in front of you, type the name, up pops everything you need. So
let's bring in Maria here. You work with a lot of SMEs, Maria, which presumably, has different challenges. Scale for an individual business might be slightly smaller. I don't know, but obviously there are big SMEs. What are the main kind of challenges with A, competence, and B, this kind of record keeping, I guess you might call it, for SMEs?
I think a lot of SMEs and micro businesses they're not tracking the competencies from a starting point of view. I think they're becoming more aware, obviously, that they have to, but I think there's still a little bit of confusion with the Building Safety Act as to what their responsibilities are and what they need to actually be doing. So I think the competency is one thing, and also because there is such a lack of skills in the way things are set up. So a lot of these SMEs and micros are employing, like, say, labour only subcontractors or subcontractors. They're not necessarily employing a lot of people. and if they don't have kind of really good subcontractors who are compliant, and if they're struggling, then I think there's a little bit of fear to sort of rock the boat and say, we need you to we need you to have these tickets, we need you to have this qualification, and we're going to track that. I think that's still quite a new thing, probably for the smaller SMEs and micro businesses. And then also I think there is a challenge around technology in general as well, getting on board with technology. And it totally depends on who the business owner is, who the director is, and how tech savvy they are. And also how much of an appetite they've got to go through the journey to find the right tech solutions as well, because there's such a lot out there. There's hundreds and hundreds of solutions for all different, aspects of their business. So that's kind of like the work that I'm doing to help them sort of on that journey, really.
Okay. So, Porrick, we just heard the Building Safety Act mentioned there. Has that changed the kind of dynamic in the industry significantly? I mean, obviously, we're hearing, people have needed to know how competent their workers are for some time. But how's the Building Safety Act changing things?
Yeah, no, like it's just really driving that audit trail and that proof of compliance from start to finish of a person's journey. So obviously, from a project perspective, we need to ensure everything and everyone is compliant and has passed all the checks to ensure that. But it's right down to the individual level as well, and I think that's a really important thing. As Maria said, smaller businesses, it's becoming more and more prevalent that we do upskill these SMEs because they're a huge and vital part of the industry and the supply chain moving forward. So, that Building Safety Act is definitely becoming more and more relevant to the main contractors, but that obviously trickles down right down to the 5 and 10 staff companies, etc. And I suppose for us in the industry as a platform provider, what we're trying to do is make that as simple as possible for those organizations, whether you're, a large organization like a Cersei or Siemens, or you're the person that comes in and does the plumber or fitting the doors or an electrician. Our role in this, we feel, is to make it as simple as possible for those people to upload or share their compliance and competencies with the large organizations, that they can see it, and then it's a much more seamless process for tracking that competency and compliance.
So just quickly take us through how the onboarding works. If you're a company that gets this platform, how smooth is it compared to if you've got an old system on spreadsheets? How do you go about upgrading?
Yeah. Well, it's really, really important. And I think, obviously having worked with Martin and Daniel, I think they'll attest to having that human element is really important to ensuring a smooth onboarding. So, and even Maria mentioned about that kind of fear of technology. That's something we very much try to take away and come on board as a partner with an organization. So it's essential. And we spend a lot of time on what we call our customer onboarding, finding out who are the people that's going to be using this in the organization, ensuring they're trained up effectively, and it's set up in the way that they need it to work for their organization, which is really important. And then again, it's getting buy-in from the end users. I think that's really important to show that this is something that's helping them. It's helping them as the person on the ground, and it's helping the business as well. I think Maria used that thing, the fear of the using technology. We used an example, last week, where we were catching up about, if you're a ground worker out there, sometimes you have to use technology. Oh, I don't want to use technology, but if they maybe get a tip for a horse in the 440, they're able to log in, to an app, transfer money, get the bed on, and they'll probably WhatsApp, 10 or 12 people to follow suit. So there is definitely the appetite, and there's definitely the knowledge there to execute it. What we really put a large emphasis on is giving the the skills and the messaging to effectively roll it out. And that's really, really important. And I think, you know, in the industry we're in, what we really like is having somebody that they can talk to, that it's not, you know, a chatbot. They can, you know, come through to our team, they can have a phone call, and we respond, you know, quickly to that, because it, you know, it's important that this is rolled out effectively and efficiently across organizations.
That's a really important point. And Martin, I mean, how do you cascade the knowledge down the supply chain, or the use of this? Because obviously you're not operating, and nobody in the construction industry is operating fully independently. There's lots of interdependencies throughout the supply chain. How does it work with you?
It can be very painful, to be perfectly honest with you, with the people that the suppliers that we bring on board, and with our project management team as well, because it can be quite fluid, especially around the construction side and rail. They'll bring in somebody to pour some cement. You know, they'll get a company off the yellow pages. For always people of a certain age remember the yellow pages, and they'll bring them in and they'll do the work, and then they won't paid and they're not in the system, etc. as well. So that's a problem, an ongoing problem we have within the business. But what we have is set up a structure, legally, contracts in there, PQQ questionnaire, and each supplier has got to complete that to get onboarded. And once they're onboarded, they can work for us. And then they've got to keep that up to date. There's an automated system that messages out our supplier to say your insurance documentation is coming out of date. You've got 90 days, 30 days, 14 days, 7 days. Now, we've just agreed at board level there that anybody that's no longer compliant on the system, by the 1st of January, you're not getting paid. So it's down to the suppliers to make sure their information is up to date. It's a self-service system. Once you know, Skillko being very good actually in doing briefings, etc. with the supply chain. I've got a couple of people within my department that onboard the supplier and talk them through, and it can be quite. Some of them are great and they fly through the system in 24 hours. They can have it on the system, and the contractor can go work. There's other ones that just don't bother completing it and say it's too difficult. So it just depends. If you don't complete it, you don't work for us. It's as simple as that. We use that as a gatekeeper to keep out the problematic suppliers. If they don't want to complete the information and give us the right information and the right insurances, etc., we don't utilise them.
Touching back, just touching back to Maria's point there about the fear of technology, I think it's more so the fear of change, and it's just inherent to human nature that it's more so the fear of change. And when people say the fear of technology, I suppose they're probably not in tune with how easy technology has become to use. And the likes of the small contractors, Maria, that you're helping daily, and you're trying on board, Martin. I mean, every big contractor started grassroots as a small contractor, and usually family run as well, you know, and no difference to Sursay there, Martin. I think small family run business in Donegal is how they started out. So just going back to that, just going back to Skillko there, Parg. I know last week we had a briefing and an intro with each other, and we were joking about a girl that works in Skillko and how I was disgusted she didn't invite me to her wedding. I was in contact with her that much. The human element, I suppose, from a customer service point of view and onboarding point of view, it takes away the fear. It takes away the fear, be it the fear of technology or the fear of change. But the human element does really pull that away, and it just shows how easy it can be to stay compliant, I suppose, and ensure that your supply chain partners can stay compliant.
I would agree with that. Sorry, yeah, it's just I was thinking that you know, some of the tech providers that people are using at the moment are like based in the US and things like that. And, you know, you've got the time differences, and also it depends on the type of support that you get, whether you actually can have a one-to-one conversation. I find that the business owners that are having the most success with technology are the ones that actually get that human input. So they've got like a customer relationship manager, they've got somebody that they can call up, they can have calls with, you know, they can take them through that whole process, and it might need to be done a few times before it's kind of embedded in. So yeah, I think that human element and that hand holding, especially at an early stage, is really, really important.
Yeah, definitely, Maria. Like as we said, then that taking that extra bit of time at the start then really allows that seamless transition to a tool being rolled out across an organization. And that's where the huge cost efficiencies come then, because once the time is taken at the beginning, everyone is kind of bought in, and as you said, the training is done on it. When then it's rolled out to the end user, everyone is au fait with it, everyone sees the benefit of it, and there's a much more kind of mutual trust on, you know, why this is important, because it's ultimately we're ensuring that people are trained, and as the guy said at the start, are trained safely to do the job, to get home safely in the evening. And you know, like that, from a safety perspective, and even from a technology provider perspective, that's our goal. Is that, you know, yes, we're helping drive efficiencies, but we're also ensuring that the people that are going on to these projects are confident, are trained to do the work safely, and get home safely in the evening, which is again really important.
It's quite interesting, isn't it? I mean, I guess there's also an element whereby there was a generation of technology in between the most recent forms and the spreadsheets that were kind of clunky. And if I think about the kind of HR systems that I've been using in my work throughout the years, we've just updated ours, and it's a dream to use. And I guess sometimes people may, over the past few years, have been put off by systems that did a good job, but the user experience was probably not really thought about so much, which can be off-putting. So, I mean, how important is, you know, getting people on the field to be able to use them in I guess real time is an important factor as well, isn't it? Because if you've got stuff on a spreadsheet, then you're not quite sure either it's up to date, or it takes time to go back and check information and to double check it maybe. What are the advantages? Maybe I'll ask you again, Martin, about it being, you know, updated almost in real time.
Well, we ultimately what happens is if the person's accreditations expire, we put them off the park, we suspend them until they've got their tickets. But what we generally find is once they've been suspended, within about 10 minutes, their cards are on the system.
Yeah.
They've just not bothered their backside uploading information onto the system, despite being notified. You know, we've got the automation in the system now that John Smith, you've got 90 days, 60 days, 30 days. You know, they get several communications from the system to tell them that the streetworks cards out of date are going out of date. And 99 times out of 100, as soon as the suspension happens, the individual's uploaded his card and he's back in the park again. So it's just a matter of taking the app out, taking a picture of his card, both sides, and uploading it into his account, and then he's free to go again. So that's how quick it can be.
Yeah. So previously it might have either taken longer to check that information.
Well, it's downtime. You know, the job can get stopped as well. So you know, we're working on notices here, or permits to work on the highway a lot of the time. So it might be just that individual can do that work, and if he's not got his tickets, or he's not uploaded his tickets, then that could affect the whole project. Especially from an open routes perspective, we have certain small jobs that could have thousands of homes getting fibre delivered on the back of just that small job. So it's really important that the people pay attention to their accreditations and update the system. But it's a simple way of updating it, using the app, taking the photograph, uploading their cards. So you know, it's great for that.
So from a business point of view, lots of advantages, but I guess there's advantages for individuals as well, who are working on site, to be able to keep their competence details in one readily accessible place. What are the incentives for individuals to get involved with this, Ulrich, and how do they do that?
Yeah, so like I think it's really important. You know, we kind of use the terminology that you have your Competency in the palm of your hand. So like our mobile app has, you know, all their accreditation certifications in that. So if they're, a low, a sole trader or a small construction company, they can go in to a large contract straight away looking professional, that they have all their competencies there ready to go, and safe in the knowledge that they have that. Another huge benefit from, the individual level is obviously through our platform, you can track all certifications, but you can also issue out content. So, the likes of Daniel or Martin might send out safety inductions, and might send out toolbox talks, and we've also organizations that send out like mental health or mindfulness briefings through the app. And once they complete them, it stays in the app that they can review it. So again, if you're an individual, particularly in our industry, we've seen the construction workforce has declined from, I think, about 10% of the total workforce was construction 10 years ago. Now we're down to about 5 across the whole workforce. So, we need to ensure we're doing everything possible to make it the best environment for people to come into. And, mental health is never more important. So like even stuff like that, if they're out on site, they can go into their app and they can review stuff. They can review, a talk that maybe makes them feel a bit better about themselves. Or again, if they're unsure on something about that project they're working on, if they've done the induction, they can go back into that induction, review it and say, okay, what do I do here if something goes wrong? Or, there was an incident last week, Martin sent me out a toolbox talk on Wednesday. I'm going to go in and actually review that because I don't want that to happen on this project again. So there's loads of, small nuggets like that are really, really powerful to that really end user that's out on projects and trying to stay safe and confident at all times.
And presumably, Maria, for SMEs, it's important for staff to be brought into this process as well. And if they're incentivized to participate, then presumably that sort of helps with the, sometimes the bureaucratic burden that an SME might wrongly or rightly perceive is there. Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely. And also, I mean, there's definitely more of a call, I suppose I'm thinking about like the domestic market at the moment. The Federation Master Builders, for example, have got a big drive on lobbying the government for licensing of builders, and obviously want to be more professional, to be able to show their accreditations, and obviously, compliance plays and competency is a huge part in that. So, I definitely think there's drivers there, but also, I mean, from an incentive point of view, with the smaller businesses, this course that I got funding for from the CITB Impact Fund is called Solving Tech for Small Builders. And it's not just for small builders, it's for SMEs in the supply chain, it's for installers. But one of the things that we talk about is how you embed change into your business, and is about bringing everybody along on that journey. So it's, people understand there's a model, and I am looking at my screen at the moment, but there is a model that we talk about on the program called ADCAR, and it's a change planner, and it stands for awareness. So helping people understand why you need the change. So why do you need to bring in this new app? If people are using Skillko, for example, why is that needed? Desire, so create the motivation and buy in to support that change. So people understanding, well, why do we need to do this? What is the motivation? It's like, well, if you're an SME and a tier 1 contractor is saying, we need you to show your your competencies and your qualifications, and that's obviously massive in bringing in work, understanding where the business is at, where they're going, taking people along on that journey. And then you've got the knowledge, the training and everything. The A is the ability, so ensuring people can apply what they've learned, because people can smile and nod. Oh yeah, that's great. Or if you're in Ireland, they'll be like, yeah, that's grand. Yeah, I've got that. Yeah. And no, they haven't. So it's obviously, you've got to sort of check that they've applied what they've said that they've learned. And then the R in ADCAR is the reinforcement. So it's keep that change going. It's about the follow-ups. It's about, refresher training and all of that. And actually what I liked about what I've seen with Skillko is there's a lot of learning videos on there that you can just and it's not like gated or anything. And by the way, I'm not getting any sort of fees or
Kickbacks.
anything for being
No.
on here. But I do like the fact that there is a lot of videos and a lot of content on there that's very easy to access. So that knowledge and learning is obviously super important.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel, it's quite interesting talking about sort of it being more than just a sort of a tick box exercise and it going a bit wider. How have you found it's kind of improved or affected relationships with and between supply chain firms to kind of all be on this journey together?
So I suppose our supply chain partners and contractors have seen the benefits firsthand, because once we onboard a contractor, and like we said, Skillko has been, it's self-serving from your top contractor who's got the contract with Skillko. We're passing it on to our subcontractors to use on our projects. It can be passed on to the guys on the ground. I suppose a lot of our contractors are a bit surprised, I suppose, firstly, how easy it is. And we're back to that fear again, that fear of technology or fear of change. And they're back to seeing all the benefits you have of having every single bit of training data and compliance data for works on site in your hand when you're walking the site. So I walk the site now and I could see a crane lifting transformer equipment into place. And straight away, I've got that crane driver's qualifications, all his trainings, all his inductions. I've got the slingers, the signalers, I've all their inductions. And the other thing is, you have to remember, when we're dealing with people in construction, we're practical learners. We're all practical learners. We're more willing to learn with our eyes and our hands than we are to sit there and read something. I suppose one benefit, again, back to Skillko, one of the benefits we have of releasing training on it, be it a weekly toolbox talk, or, for example, we're releasing ArcFlash and electrical awareness training on it now because we're going to liven up and energize parts of our project, is it's interactive. It's interactive, so it's not just read this and sign that. It's, you're looking at videos, you're answering questions, and again, because you're answering the questions, we're proving the competency that people are taking in what's in front of them, and more importantly, I suppose they understand it. And that's not just for us, that's our contractors have all been beneficiaries of it as well. And I suppose the testament to the ease of use, I suppose, for Skillko is our contractors are now putting us to the side and approaching Skillko for other projects of their own, so it's a good testament to Borwick and everyone in Skillko, what they've achieved with the platform.
And Martin, have you found there's any kind of knock-on benefits to the relationships within your supply chain from all being on this same platform?
Allows us to measure suppliers. We've got some business partners or build partners that are of similar size, and we can see how their safety and competency is from a build perspective. So we do weekly calls, and we also have our project management team having a weekly call with the supplier, and it allows us to show them, John Smith's expiring in 60 days. Have you booked him in for training? So it allows us to look forward, planning the training with either we've got our training department, or we use third parties, approved third parties. But we don't want to get to the stage where stopping people out in site. We want to ensure people either they go and do their training before they actually expire, or the training card expires, not them, the training cards expires. So it's really important and a really useful tool to do that. And then we get their tickets uploaded as quickly as possible so we can demonstrate the competency.
I mean, presumably that has an impact on trust. You've got contracts, but contracts require trust. You can only put a certain amount in words. Presumably this process
It does, but you know, our main client Openreach, they use a smart award system for all their tier ones. You know, everybody else uses their own separate systems for, you know, managing our own supply chain. So we can demonstrate, and we've proven that our system's more accurate than what Openreach are using. So they say John Smith's a popular guy this morning, but John Smith, his street works cards out of date, and that means that the whole job fails. So Openreach would go and check that, audit that job. But we can go back and say, well, you know, demonstrate that this guy has got his ticket. He's got it in the system, he's got it in smart awards, etc. as well. So there's some issue with the Openreach system. So it's really important that we have our own system in order as to manage our competency of our operatives out in the park.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that goes back again to like ensuring contractual compliance, and I suppose title webinar gaps in compliance. Before our technological platforms like Skillko, and how many, okay, we need one first aider for every 20 guys on site. That's a contract, that's a clause we have in place. We need one supervisor per 10 people on site. How do we prove it? How do we actually prove it? Because if our little trackers and Excel sheets haven't been kept up to date daily and weekly or whatever the case may be, you're falling behind. Now, are you obliging to your contractual agreements? It's hard to know. It's hard to know. But when everything is there, digitally, readily available, and automatically updated every time a single person comes to a project or a contract or a company, I suppose you're a bit more rest assured and you've confidence that you are compliant, and that when you check that what's in front of you is true, rather than is there something that slipped through the cracks.
Great. Just a quick reminder for our viewers that the Q&A session is hurtling towards us. We'll go to that shortly. So please do. We've got some questions in, but if anybody else wants to get in, there's probably some space for that. Let me come to you, Patrick, before that. There's a lot of work going on sector competency at the moment. So individual frameworks being drawn up for you know, dozens and dozens actually of the specialisms within construction. How segmented can you be on the platform?
Yeah, hugely. So obviously that's, as you mentioned, becoming more and more relevant across the industry, you know, differentiated types of competencies and skills and authorizations required by, you know, type of work or by project or by location. So thankfully in our platform, like as Martin mentioned there, we have items, we call them customized skills matrices. So you can set up, you know, a custom skills matrix, and that can be by a job role, or it can be by, again, a customer or a location or a project. So it really allows each individual organization to drill into the nitty-gritty and segregate it from, obviously we have a worker here with an excavator or a linesman or a groundwork, whatever it might be, and we can see that they're qualified and competent for that job. But if they get moved to a specific framework that's starting, you know, in 3 months' time, do they have all the relevant qualifications specific to that framework? And then we can match it against them, and then we'll see those gaps again. So it's really, for us, that's a big solution that's really powerful for companies in the way the kind of industry is moving towards, and those kind of individualized framework requirements that the platform allows you to cater for that. And again, back to the title of the webinar, as Dan said, identify the gaps before they go to projects. So that's really important. You know, we don't want the issue where, you know, and again, listen, you know, we talk to a lot of organizations and you say, what was your business process before? And they say, oh, we just send them site and then, you know, then we check them, you know, which obviously you don't want to happen. You want to be proactive rather than reactive. And I suppose with that, through our platform and those solutions there, you know, it gives very strong, clear view of who's 100% or who's green and who maybe has a few gaps. And as Martin said as well, they can be integrated into other systems. So if there's work planning systems or other solutions used in organizations, that data flow can be integrated, which becomes, you know, a really powerful all-in-one solution then for organizations.
And Daniel, if you're sitting at the top of the Christmas tree, if you like, looking down, how easy is it for you to keep track of what competence is needed for what sector or what specialism?
Too easy. Like I said, it shaves hours off my day every day. I can log into Skillko right now and I can see who's expiring in the next 30 days. I can see who has expired. Obviously, the usually access will stop if people are gone from a project. We can archive them so that we still have everything on record. Yet they're removed from the overall orange or red list, I suppose. The naughty list seems around the Christmas team, Colin. But it it does just make everything so easy, and like that, being able to go to a project or a site or a part of a site or a task and have in my hand access to the people doing that task or what they're qualified and trained to do, and making sure we've got the right people there, you know. So it's been a game changer for me. Like I said, funny actually, Marie, earlier you said about I think a lot of these platforms probably started stateside. So apologies if we've anybody tuned in from the US of A, but the time difference was a major issue, and that's actually what led to my introduction to Park and Skillko. First day around, the first time I was introduced to Skillko, and it's dealing with Skillko, I suppose, it's given me the confidence to introduce Skillko to other clients, including Siemens Energy. But it's just made life so much easier. And back on the admin, safety is evolving all the time. Health and safety is evolving all the time. We're almost, Martin, you've got the worst of both worlds at health, safety, environment, and quality. But we're almost leading towards, I suppose it's a double-edged sword in a way that we've almost got too much admin and paperwork, and it's taking away from site supervision, boots on the ground, and monitoring work, which is where people will get injured. And paper doesn't refuse ink, but there's so much admin involved, it still needs to get done. Skillko has just removed at least 3 hours of our day between induction, record keeping, and updating matrices, so on and so forth. So looking down at the top of the Christmas tree, I've got my my legs folded and my arms crossed, and an Irish coffee in my hand, Colin.
That's it's a really good point there, though, Colin and Danny, you know, about that localized, you know, and Maria meant touch as well. Like we our parent company HSI is, you know, they're based in Dallas, but you know, by partnering with Skillko is because of the importance of that localized, you know, presence, you know, and you know, HSI, we've offices in APAC, you know, right across Australia, New Zealand, all across the States, and now in Europe. But the real importance is having people on the ground there to be able to answer your questions specific to your region as well. So like, and you know, it's different. Like every region is different as well. Even in, you know, UK and Ireland, there's different legislations across both. So that knowledge and that trust and credibility of the people that you're working with is really, really important to everyone. Like, so if a customer's taken on and working with us, you know, they know the caliber of the clients we work with, the likes of the Cerses and the Siemens and so many more wonderful clients we have. Straight away, there's a credibility and a trust in us. Again, you know, you're in the time zone. We have lots of war stories and the likes of the challenges faced. So, you know, that relatability is really important within the location that they're in as well. And it's really important to us that we have that knowledge to be able to share with our customer base, which is hugely important.
Right. I think it's time to jump to the Q&A session. I'm going to try and combine a couple here because they're kind of in the same type of area. One of them is more of an observation. Lee Sawyer's saying defining what we mean by competence can be challenging given different perspectives. You captured it brilliantly, Martin. Confidence, quality of work, safety and currency of accreditation. The only addition is the responsibility held at every level, both through formal and informal interactions and processes. And then there's Eddie Hughes has touched on a topic that I know is of great interest to perhaps some people who are, you know, further towards the end of their careers than the start of it, which is talking about, you know, the challenges of assessing competence based on experience as well as qualifications. And obviously there's a lot of worries about that forcing older workers out of the sector. But I presume, I mean, so just, I mean, maybe this is one for you, Padraig. Where does your platform sit within that wider sector? Because obviously experience, because we talked a lot about proving skills today, haven't we?
Yeah, but like I suppose you know, again, it's down to the organization to set what they view as competency or compliance. You know, each individual organization will have their own different, you know, parameters around that and their semantics and labeling. So, you know, again, within our platform, like you can set up, you know, your various different requirements to be maybe, you know, 15 years experience. That might be something you put in that someone has to have, and they have to be able to prove that. And once they do, it's marked on their record, and then that feeds into their compliance matrix and skills matrix to say, yeah, you know, Eddie is, you know, 20 years uh with us, you know, so he's fully compliant across all projects. So, you know, that customization and flexibility is within the platform. And, you know, as we said, you know, all we want to do is ensure we're keeping people within the sector. You know, for us as a platform provider, it's ensuring that we're keeping the workforce in the sector, we're keeping them safe, and we're allowing them to be able to prove that they can do the work, you know, across the industry. So whether they're a main contractor or subcontractor. So that flexibility is there within the system to be able to allow organizations to cater for, you know, examples I think that Eddie raised there.
And how are you knitting that together, Martin? How are you knitting together the, you know, the formal qualifications with the experience?
It's a difficult one because you could get Jimmy saying he's been doing the job for 20 years, but he's been doing it wrong for 20 years. That's that could be an issue, and we've seen that in some of our work streams that the individuals do need retraining because they've picked up bad habits over the years as well. So if you know the simple thing is you get changes in legislation. That reflects sometimes in the modules, the training modules we do, and the individuals have got to go and do it. If they don't do it, then unfortunately they can't work for us. We are measured on that by our clients, so they need to go and do the training. But most of it is hands-on as well. You know, it's practical training, so it's not sitting in a classroom and getting death by PowerPoint. It's practical training. So it's just the individual training, just the individual demonstrating to the assessor trainer that they can actually undertake the work. That's what a lot of the training is about. So it's not sitting down and writing out reams and reams of pages. It's actually being able to demonstrate in a training environment you're actually competent to undertake the work. You know, give you a good example. Boring, but it's really relevant in our industry. Frames and covers, carriageway frames and covers. You see them, you drive over them every single day. Now, there's been changes made by the client on how they are built, how they're constructed to make them safer, last longer, etc. And we still get individuals out there that have been doing it wrong for 5, 6 years, despite being trained, despite being accredited. They'll go and do it incorrectly. So it's really important that as things change, as technology progresses as well, individuals have got to keep up with you know, the changes in the industry and the technology as well, and they do that by doing their training.
Maria, what's your take on this one? Obviously, working with a lot of smaller organisations, they're going to be concerned about, you know, proving their experience as much as their formal qualifications. But notwithstanding what Martin said about the practical elements of the training.
Yeah, I mean, you know, well, I could give you an example. So my husband works for a local contractor. He's like a site engineer. He's been in the industry, you know, since he was 16, but he recently had to do an NVQ so that he could get his supervisor SMS, well, no, it was the CSCS card. And he wasn't very happy about that, you know, having to sort of get an NVQ when he's thinking about more the fact that he wants to retire in the next few years.
Yeah.
But you know, that was what needed to be done to sort of prove competency and compliance and to be able to you know, work for the contractors that they work for. So I think But also, so I think, you know, obviously that's all driving these changes. People are having to upscale. A lot of them don't necessarily like it. But again, I think it's about understanding, you know, the reasons why that's happening, so that you can, like, you know, you can take them through that journey and help them as well. But also one of the things that came to mind, because I think we've got this wider challenge where we've got an aging workforce and we've got people who are, you know, getting ready to leave the industry as well. But I do think there is a good case for that, you know, reverse mentoring as well, and you know, the reverse mentoring with the technology. So the people who are newer to the industry reverse mentoring the older ones around, you know, how do you get on board with technology, but also let's not lose the amazing skills that we've got and experience, and let's, you know, make sure that that's sort of being passed on as well before they leave. So I think reverse mentoring, you know, could be really good in that situation where, you know, you've got the newer ones and the people who've been around for a longer time.
That's a very good. I'll come to you in a second, Daniel. Apologies for not letting you answer that one, but that's a really good segue into. There's a couple of questions here about the younger generation attracting people into the sector. So how? I guess the question. What's the question? The question would be, you know, how does a digital tool like this help with that? I mean, presumably, you know, some of the younger workers will be more au fait with digital technology than people who are nearing retirement, and then obviously there are cultural differences as well. Do you think a tool like this, would it be stating it too strongly to say that this can be a recruitment and retention tool, Ulrich?
Yeah, for sure. Colin, like this, again, a multitude of different areas that can help attract people. So ability to constantly upskill. So again, you know, obviously we can create custom content like inductions, but we have a catalog, you know, from HSI of thousands of courses that, you know, and learning paths can be created for users to upskill themselves and prove that they're, you know, to keep upskilling from maybe a ground worker to a site manager or whatever it might be. And then there's also bits and pieces like we can have multilingual onboarding paths as well. So again, if you're trying to attract, you know, people from, you know, different language backgrounds as well, you know, that you know, is a big kind of force for enticing people into the industry, is making it as comfortable for them in their language. And that's a really important thing as well, as because we're in a diverse workforce and diverse culture. So you know, our platform allows organizations to cater for that and to be able to attract that talent, and again ensure that they're still getting the correct training and competency training, but in their own language. So there's a few bits and pieces like that for sure that we feel help, you know, attract those younger people into it. And again, then the ability to upskill through the various solutions available is really important too.
It's important as well, Parag, I suppose, that like while online platforms like Skillko, they're an information sharing tool, and it's both ways. So as the contractor, we're taking our trainings and competencies, but as for the individual on site, it'll be young people coming in, Colin, we're using Skillko to deliver information to these people. And I know personally myself, I think the first time I sat on a digger or a dumper was probably 13, 14, and was get up on that. And you're there and you're frightened, you're rabbit in the headlights. Whereas now the industry has changed so much. We're delivering information to these younger people coming in, and we're delivering it well. And when you're in a job, if you have information and knowledge, you're confident. And when you're confident in your job, you're happier in your job. And it's like you said, going back to retention and inclusion and trying to keep people and attract people in the industry. That is a part of it, you know.
Great. We had a couple of questions that landed right at the last minute. Unfortunately, we've run out of time now, but if we might be able to distribute those somehow. There was another question about whether we're going to distribute this webinar afterwards, and that luckily the answer is yes. There will be an opportunity to download this whole webinar, which I think We've covered a lot of ground here, so I think it'd be useful to watch back again and watch it over a cup of tea or an Irish coffee. Thank you very much to all my guests today. It's been really, really interesting talking to you all. And all that remains to say is it's been fascinating, and we'll hopefully chat again on this topic at some time in the future.